Right now, we are most likely the hours before a major escalation, rather de-escalation. What Trump has been signaling, tweeting today does not seem to suggest that he has any plans to actually give diplomacy a real chance. He's calling for surrender. I think he is likely miscalculating, thinking that the Iranians believe that surrender actually is an option, that Trump would honor the terms of a surrender. And that's assuming that they even think that surrender is in the cards, in the sense that their assessment of their strength and weakness is likely very different from the perception that exists in Israel and in the United States. If they don't trust that surrender actually is an option, because they believe that once they were to agree to it, the Israelis would not be content with just destroying the nuclear program. They would go after the missile program, and then it would snowball to a whole set of other things. And as a result, I don't think that they think is an actual option. So if Trump goes and insists on surrender, if talks even take place, I think it will ensure war. I think rather than this being an actual strategic calculation, this is something that Trump has more or less stumbled into as a result of adopting the Israeli negotiating position halfway through the negotiations. In the beginning of the negotiations, the position of Trump was a very reasonable and realistic one. Limit the Iranian nuclear program to maximum 3.67%, only civilian use. And then somewhere halfway through, he adopted the Israeli position, which is actually zero enrichment. You cannot have any nuclear program. This is something the US has tried before. It leads us nowhere. It creates impasses. As soon as there was an impasse, the Israelis then took advantage of that to push for military strikes to soften the Iranian negotiating position, knowing very well that it would lead to a crisis that eventually would pull the US into it. It's important to understand the missiles that they have been using against Israel are long-distance missiles. The missiles they would be using against US bases, first of all, they have a larger arsenal of them, are medium and shorter distance missiles. They have not used those against Israel, and as a result still have plenty of them left. So by targeting the bases, that also means that they would target the countries in which those bases are hosted. Could be Qatar, could be Bahrain, could be UAE, could be Saudi Arabia. This would regionalize the war. This is part of the reason why many of these Arab countries are dead set against this escalation. They don't want this conflict to come to their territory. If you actually say that Tehran should be evacuated, it seems to suggest that regime change is very much at the very center of this. And if it's not regime change, it may actually more accurately be to say that it is regime collapse, meaning regime change, you're changing the regime from one thing to another. Regime collapse means that you just take out the state apparatus, create chaos, and let the chaos fester, rather than taking responsibility for setting up a new government.
Bunker busters is a more colloquial term that we use to discuss large airdrop munitions that are capable of doing a couple of things. First, it's penetrating hard and deeply buried targets. Think something like a bunker or a facility that's built within a mountain. And these are also timed within the fuses of the weapons so that they don't explode immediately upon impact, or like some other munitions where you aim for an airburst several hundred feet above impact. They actually go several feet into the ground, dozens of feet. The GBU-57, which is the massive ordnance penetrator that's being discussed heavily in terms of American involvement in Iran, can actually penetrate up to 200 feet before detonating its ordnance. In the case of the massive ordnance penetrator, it is the only weapon in anyone's arsenal globally that's able to successfully target and potentially even eliminate facilities like Fordo. It was designed originally with the intent of attacking and destroying targets specifically built into mountains. Initially, that was in terms of North Korea, later expanded to target sets including Iran as well. And even then, it's not a guarantee that one or even two of these weapons would be able to successfully take Fordo offline, and certainly even to destroy it. The US Air Force B-2 stealth bomber, that is the only aircraft that's capable of carrying and deploying these weapons, can carry up to two of these. Now, it was reported this morning in print outlets that the Air Force actually has, as part of their kind of operational concept for attacking targets such as Fordo, would actually plan to use several of these munitions deployed through several aircraft. So it wouldn't just be a single munition dropped or even two from one airplane. It would be multiple strikes kind of barrowing down into that target set over time, kind of drilling down towards the target. In terms of the massive flow of forces that you see right now headed into the Middle East, a lot of that is indicative of many options being on the table. The type of refueling, logistics, and strike assets that we see moving towards areas where we would expect to see them moving if there were to be a significant move taken by the United States military in the region are necessary to be in place ahead of any type of combat operation. So those are things that include refueling, include logistics, and kind of armament support, but also things like combat search and rescue. All of this needs to be in place before a single American aviator is placed in harm's way.